Hey, what is going on guys? Kiwi here, and I am back with the third episode of how to make a Minecraft plugin. Today we are going to be going over events and what they are and how to use them. So an event in its simplest form is, well, an event. It's something happening. So in a server, say TNT explodes or a creature dies or a person dies or a person joins the server or leaves the server, anything. There is an event that is being fired. So if I were to go to Spigot, Java docs, now these Java docs which I'm about to show you, they contain an overview of literally everything in the Spigot API. So what we are going to be looking for is I'm going to go control find and we're going to search event. And as I scroll through, you'll see a whole heap of events here. So I've got block grow event, block ignite event, block fade event, block form event, block event, block XP event, block explode event. Right through there is just events after events after events. And this basically covers what they are and shows you a few of the different types of events. So we've got entity events, and then here are all the different types of entity events. There are literally hundreds. There's no real way to learn them. You just sort of have to have an idea and then try to figure out and think, this looks like something that might have an event, and look for something that would be applicable or might fire at a time that you need it. Now with these events we are able to set up classes in Java called listeners, and these listeners basically sit there watching and they go, oh yep, that event happened, and then they can run our code based on what's happening. Now this is really useful for basically every single plugin, because we can, rather than just telling it run this, run this, run this, run this, we can make it more intelligent. We can make it run when things happen. We can make people type commands and then wait until something happens, and you can do some really awesome stuff with events. It's definitely one of the most exciting parts of Spigot. It does get pretty in-depth the further you go, but what's nice about them is you can do some really simple stuff with them as well without getting too confusing. So what we are going to be doing today is creating a simple plugin which I have created a new project here for called Join Sound. And what it is going to do is it's going to play a sound to every single player in the server whenever someone joins the server. Now obviously in reality that would be quite annoying, because every single time someone left or someone joined, you would have to listen to this sound. So you would be able to tweak this plugin, but for the purposes of this tutorial, that is going to be what I am doing. So I'm going to create a new package, like I showed you in the last tutorial, and I'm going to call it me.bucket. Oh no, sorry, not me.bucket. me.kiwifisher.joinSound. Oh, bad typing. Fat fingers. Join sound. And that is going to be our package name. Notice how it is unique. It has my username in it. It also has the name of the plugin in it. Now the chances are that there's someone else out there that goes by the name Kiwi Fisher and is creating a plugin called Join Sound is pretty low. So this is a good ideal package name. And also notice that I have everything in lowercase. That is the naming standards in Java for packages. You always have lowercase letters. Now I'm going to create a new class and I'm going to call it Join Sound, except notice this time the J and the S are in capitals. Classes, they are named with capitals. Each word starts with a capital. So I'm going to click OK and get rid of this. And first thing we are going to do is we're going to extend Java plugin. Now that basically just gives us access to the full library. It hooks in and basically tells the server, hey look, this piece of code is a plugin. Now I am going to do what we did last time with @override, and we're going to have a public void on enable. Same as last time. I'm not going to put an on disable in because I don't need it for this plugin. It is sometimes useful, sometimes it isn't, completely up to you. Don't forget, in the source folder you do also need to create a file, and that has to be your plugin.yml. Now plugins will not work unless they have a valid plugin.yml, and they require a few things, and that is a main, they require a name, and they also require a version. Those are the minimums. That is what you must have. And the main, as I said in the previous episode, was the package location or the class location. So what we can see up here is me.kiwifisher.joinSound joinSound.joinSound. So this here is our package, and that there is the main class, which has our onEnable in it. The name is going to just be joinSound, because hey, that's what the plugin's called, and our version is going to be 1.0. So we can save that and close it and go back to our code. So now, with this here, you technically could continue writing in the same class underneath, but I am going to break it up into multiple classes just to try to build some good habits with you guys. So we are going to go new Java class inside the same package, and we are going to call it player join, if I can spell join, listener. Player join listener. So this is going to be our class that its sole purpose of existing, the reason we are giving it life, is to listen for when players join. That's what's great about object-oriented programming, is you are able to break your work up into classes like this where they have a specific task and you don't have what I would consider a minor piece of code cluttering your main classes, because you really want to try to keep your code as clean as possible, because as plugins get better it does get quite hard to manage. Now, with listeners, the first thing we want to do is we need to implement an interface like we did with the commands, except this time it is not command handler, it is called listener. And we can see here it is the one by org.bucket.event, that is the one that we want. So under here we are going to create a public void method. Now, public being, as I explained in previous episodes, accessible external to the class, external to this package in fact, void meaning it doesn't return anything. Now, as for the naming of this, you could name it QWERTY. You could name it anything you want, it does not matter, but it is best to give it something legible, something you can read and make sense of yourself. So I'm going to call mine player join listener. And inside the parameters of this, we are going to pass it something called a player join event. And as I said before, it is one of these events here. I can go, oh, it doesn't like that. Player join event, and I can see it down here. If I click on it, it's going to take me to it, and I can scroll through and I can see all the different methods that I have. So I can get the join message, I'll be able to get the player, I can get the event name, I can see if it's asynchronous or not, which is to do with threads, and that is that. And that is the type, so we are just going to call it event. Now with events, there is one little detail. You have to add something called an annotation. Now I did it with the onEnable here, I said @override. The little @ symbol is called an annotation, or the whole thing's an annotation. So if I go we're going to put in event handler. We are just going to let the JVM know this is a event handler. So now what do we want to do when a player joins the server? Well, we want to play a sound. So I know for a fact, because I've done a bit of research and been at this for a while, that there is a play sound method in the player object, which is great. If we find sound, oh, there we go, play sound, and we have a location, we can give it a sound, we can give it a float for the volume, and we can give it a float for the pitch. And if I click on sound, then I can see all the different types of sounds that I can access, which is awesome. Really useful to have these Java docs open while you are programming. So now you need to decide, do I want to play it for just the player that's joined, or do I want to play it for the whole server? In this case, I want to play it for the whole server, so I need to find a way to get every single player on the server. I need to go through them one at a time and I need to play that sound for them in each of their respective locations. And there is a method, and I can go bucket.getPlayers, or get online players rather, and that is going to return to me all of the player objects of players that are online right now. And it gives it to me in something called a collection, meaning I can .get.add, get the size, I can check if it's empty, I can check if it contains a player, so I could check if a player was online. A whole heap of cool stuff there. But what we want to do is we want to iterate through it. We want to step one at a time through every single player. So we are going to use something which I showed on the very first episode. This will be our first time using this type of it. It's called a for loop. So we are going to have a for statement like that. But what I showed you in the first episode was something like int I is equal to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. And I showed you that that was going to go from I is equal to 0, it's going to add 1 each time up until it's less than 10. This isn't going to work for us because we are dealing with players, not integers. So we need to, well, we don't have to use it, but a very simple version of a for loop that we can use is something called an enhanced for loop. And I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail right now. I'm going to slow down because I haven't gone over it before. But basically I can say for bucket.getOnlinePlayers, so for all of the players, sorry, I've done this backwards, just going to type it out. I can basically say here, okay, so for every player, and we're saying that player is the data type player, and we can basically say that the colon means in all of the online players, we are going to do something. And that is called an enhanced for loop. You can do it with lots of different data types as long as you have a collection that has for each support, which in this case online players does. So now when this event fires, it's going to run the for loop, and if we have Johnny, Bob and Craig online, it's going to go through, hey Johnny, and then run the code. It's going to go, hey Bob, and then run the code. It's going to go, hey Craig, and then run the code. So for each player online, it is going to run whatever is in here. And for us, that is going to be playing the sound. And as I said earlier here, we saw that the player object actually had a method play sound. So I can go player, because that's what we're calling it here, and I can go dot play sound. Awesome. And now it's telling me here, okay, I need a location as the first parameter. So what location am I going to use to play it at Johnny's location? Well, I'm going to get the player that I want to play it for, and, well, let's get his location. Nice and simple. And then the sound that I want, I'm going to go sound dot, and then it's going to show me all of the different sounds. And I want to go with the entity cat, or the ocelot, and I want to go with it purring. And now I need a volume, so I'm going to go with a volume of 10, reasonably arbitrary number, I just assume that's going to be loud. And I want a pitch of 2, because why not? Doesn't really matter, you can fiddle around with those, it's half the fun. So right now this code is done, this will work. But like we did with the commands, we also have to register an event. So to register an event, you come in here on enable, and we're going to go get server dot get plugin manager dot register events. And now it says here, okay, I want 2 parameters. I want a listener and I want a plugin. So the listener is whatever class the listener is held within. So again, we're going to use the new operator like we did with the command, and we're going to say player join listener. And then it says, okay, I want a plugin. What plugin does this belong to? And because this is the class that extends Java plugin, it means that this class is the plugin class. It's the main class. So I'm just going to type this. This refers to the current class you are in, which is a very useful keyword to know. So right now we have a valid plugin.yml. We have a valid on enable and startup, and we also have a valid listener. So if we quickly build the plugin and then jump down here and get that plugin, we can put it into our server and start it up, and let's watch the configs, well not watch the configs, sorry, watch the console and see if we get any errors. It's all starting up. Awesome, I didn't see any errors. If we type PL, we can see here we now have two plugins, Join Sound and Test plugin, which is from the previous episode. So I am going to join the server, and I'm not sure if you guys heard that. I forgot that it was actually going to be doing that as soon as I joined, but it played the cat purring. I'll log off again and be quiet and log back in so you can hear it. It's a little bit quiet, might be a bit hard to hear over the video, but that sound is in fact playing. So now we could do a whole heap of things. We could message the server saying this person has joined the game. We could override these custom messages. We could override the join messages with custom messages. We could do anything really. And again, all these different events, you can go scroll down. I want to see what happens when you exit a vehicle. So we could see what methods they have here. And we could, oh here we are, we can get the vehicle, so we could make it so when someone exits a boat, the boat breaks and we could trigger an explosion. So if you leave a minecart before you're meant to, because you're taking someone on a train or something, the minecart explodes and kills them. I mean, you can really think up some wacky, awesome stuff and really simply build it. As you can see here, there's really not a lot to my code. I've literally just created a single method, push in a simple for loop, which wasn't even necessary if you just wanted to play it for the player that was joining, and then registered it. That's really it. I've barely typed more than 20-30 lines of code. And guys, that is going to be episode 3. If you do have any suggestions for the next video, then please put them forwards, but otherwise next video I'm going to start covering exceptions, because as you start to code plugins you are going to run into some errors and you might get a little bit stuck up on them because they can be quite nasty. They get up to about 80 lines long sometimes, and sometimes you think, crap, where do I look? How do I know what's wrong? It's all just computer language gobbledygook. It makes no sense. So I'll show you how to go through those and how to figure out what's wrong in your code and how to fix it based off of those. But anyway guys, thank you for watching and I'll see you later. Bye bye.